Guys, Naja here. Welcome back to my channel. I thank you guys so much for who are new to the channel, who have just subscribed. Thank you guys so much for your support of the channel. I am definitely in a position of feeling as though I need to push my channel in a different direction, to be more, I guess, to show more from a lifestyle perspective instead of just coming just to give word, just to give encouragement. Now, I'm definitely going to continue to do that. Definitely going to give the word that God leads me to give. That's never going to stop. But I just, because I'm a creative, I have this unction and this desire to give on a different level, from a different viewpoint. And I love the whole vlog aspect, the whole lifestyle positioning of giving word, or just the channel itself to go kind of go more in that direction. And so you may see some videos here and there that slowly kind of move into that area. One thing I do want to get you guys to kind of prepare for is the fitness portion of my channel. I am challenged to begin to go in that area. I know it's long overdue, and many of you actually subscribed because of the video that I did that talked about the spirit of gluttony. And it has been something that I have been challenged with for a minute now. Clearly, it is a challenge. But what I want to do is offer the opportunity to be able to get through that challenge together as a collective, as a group, as a body, because so many people are dealing with that. So I will be here sometime this week to get, and you may even see me give it with the same outfit and everything on. I may just go ahead and just record that portion, which will be an introduction to that portion of my channel. So I got to give you more, feedback, to give you more just direction in what that's going to look like, what that portion of the channel is going to include, what you can expect from that portion of the channel. And I'm excited about doing it, but I can definitely say that it was a fear that was there regarding doing it, because I know that once I actually stepped out and did it, that I would be held accountable, because people will now be looking for it. So God was like, I told you to do it, and so you have to step out and do it regardless of what you're feeling, the fears. You got to release it over to me. I'm not expecting for you to be perfect in doing it. And so if I'm living that lifestyle, the only difference is that I'm just going to be recording it and sharing it with you guys. So I look forward to that. So please look out for that. It is coming very, very soon. But today, guys, well, first and foremost, if you guys have not already, if you would like a signed copy of my book, From Witchcraft to Righteousness, please visit the link in the description to go to my website to purchase the book for someone who may need to know and understand why witchcraft, New Age, anything outside of following Jesus is a dangerous thing. And if you prefer, you can always get it off of Amazon or barnesandnobles.com. Those links are also in the description. Okay. Without further ado, really quickly, I wanted to come in and just have a quick chat with you guys in reference to dating and waiting well. Now, I could go on and on about this topic, but unfortunately, I only have about 13 minutes to kind of express this. As you know, God always gives me certain experiences, and in those experiences, they're always there for the purpose of being used to discuss and bring to you guys, so that you don't have to deal with the same method, and you can be more aware rather than blindly going into certain areas. Okay, for many of you, there's a blessing of a relationship. There's a blessing of a kingdom, godly relationship that is due you, that God is bringing to you. The enemy knows that these things are coming, and because he knows that, and he knows the power behind that connection, the power behind that covenant, and the damage that it will do to his kingdom when you come together, he will do nothing more than try to connect you to people who seem as though they could be a good candidate. But in turn, because of your heart, because you love hard, and because you desperately want that connection, and you want to feel as though you're moving in a direction that could end up in marriage, we tend to compromise beyond where God has told us to compromise. One thing that is important is that, yes, the Lord may bring a husband to you that may not be what you may have expected, but the Lord is never going to bring someone to you that will cause you to compromise who you are as a daughter of the King, or to put you in a position where you feel less than, where you're lacking. Okay? We must remember that. So I put out a word not too long ago where I discussed, where the Lord was saying, stop being so critical. Stop being the person that as soon as you meet someone, you're marking off this checklist of who you think you deserve to have as a head of your house. A lot of times when we're doing it based on our standards, those standards are well past like overbearing. Okay? So, and I've said this myself because I've done this in the past. So I know for a fact that the Lord said, hey, stop being so critical. He doesn't have to be above where you are. He does not have to necessarily be as, knowledgeable about the things of God. But I may use you to sow a seed into this person. This person may be someone who may be on a different, in a different space. But one thing you want to understand is that the Lord is never going to send you someone who's in a different space, but they don't have a desire to surrender to the Lord. That's the difference, okay? So don't take the Lord saying not to be overly critical as meaning that you are to accept in people that would be considered a non-believer or a lukewarm Christian, okay? Because that's not what God is saying. Now, there are some people that God may call you to be friends with someone, to give them guidance and lead them in a certain direction. But you must make sure that it's the Lord that's leading you into doing that, and that it's not you leading yourself into doing that because you care about that person, or because you're afraid of being alone, or because you're afraid of leaving the situation and thinking maybe it was God. Trust and believe, if something is from the Lord, that He's not going to allow you to miss it. It will be an obvious thing. I myself have made too many mistakes in the past where I thought something was God. And even though it did not align with something that was in Scripture, I still allowed the enemy to cause me to go in a certain direction. So we have to learn to make sure that we aren't in our own desires for something, trying to make something that should not be happening, trying to create something that God did not orchestrate. The enemy is very strategic. So if the enemy knows that God is wanting you to lower your standards a little bit, to be willing, to be willing to be an example Even if it's being an example to the man who's going to be head. In certain circumstances, that's okay, as long as he has that desire and thirst for the Lord. But one thing I experienced was, and this is a testimony, the enemy will always send a counterfeit right before the real thing. Oh my gosh, he will always send a counterfeit right before the real thing. I experienced meeting someone who, as soon as they found out I was in ministry and how I ended up in ministry, they disclosed that they, at that very moment, had items in their home that mimicked ancestral worship, that mimicked, burning of sage, crystals, etc., meditation, all those things. I took a deep breath and I was like, Lord, really? And I said, okay, maybe you're wanting me to sow a seed into this person, to allow them to see and understand who you are. So let me just use this as an opportunity to minister. I did that. And the person actually said that they had thrown the stuff out. However, this person was not in a position where he had a heart to seek the Lord, where he had a heart to surrender to the Lord. He didn't have a desire to seek him and be on, and even try to be on the level that I am living. So in a situation like that, you can't force someone to walk uprightly. You cannot force someone to be what you need them to be. We are in charge of our own salvation, and that person has to walk out their walk on their own. When they're not with you, when they're not talking to you, they need to have an individual relationship with the Lord. And so I found myself compromising for at least a month and a half of basically trying to see what the Lord would reveal. And it got to the point where I was like, wait a minute, this person's not pursuing me. This person is not someone who I know would go before the Lord in reference to leading my household. This person is just not what I know God said I needed for the calling that is on my life. So what am I doing? And it comes a time where we have to recognize where we've gotten into that space where we've compromised, and this is not something that would have been God's best. This is not something that God would have said that was for me. Now, everybody's situation is different, okay? Not everybody has my walk. Not everybody has my calling. So each individual person that's put together, there'll be a different purpose. There'll be a different position, different place, a different expectation on their life, okay? But it wasn't what God was waiting for. What God was waiting for, it was like he was saying, daughter, you know what I've placed in you. You know what I would give you and what you deserve. So he didn't tell me to walk away. Sometimes the Lord will instill in you everything you need to know and understand so that you can come off of that milk and you can now, know how to digest meat, where you don't need the Lord to tell you every single thing. But yet you understand the character of God enough to know how to make certain decisions and know what's God, what isn't. And so he was waiting on me to see him in this or not see him in this and make a faith move. God is waiting for the same thing from you. Evaluate your situation. Evaluate who you are allowing into your space. Do not allow yourself to compromise because of what you feel like you need or want. Okay? If God is not in it, it's not going to work anyway. If God has not orchestrated it, it's not going to work anyway. So let's please evaluate your situation. Evaluate where you are. Don't compromise, guys, in dating. And if that particular person that's in your space is not who God called, then we need to learn to wait well. Waiting well means that you operate the way that God has called you to operate, whether in ministry, whether in, your work, building your household, working on self, building your relationship with Him. That's waiting well. Waiting well where you're not forcing a situation to happen. You're not trying to create something out of nothing. Waiting well is living in obedience to the Lord until He brings what He said He was going to bring. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to fall out of the sky. That doesn't mean it's going to just come out of anywhere. What that means is when the opportunity presents itself, trust me, He is going to be in it and you're going to know. All right, guys, I got to go. I will see you guys in my next video. I love you. Bye.